Welcome to another presentation from the CV Academics Foundation, home of the AMP Honors Program.
Hi, AMP Honors Program. Most of you may know me, but if you don't, my name is Taylor LaChapelle, and I'm one of your super mentors. I'm happy to be here today with my longtime powerlifting coach, Brian Shekels. Do you want to start out telling us a little bit about how you became a powerlifting coach, or what got you interested in becoming a powerlifting coach?
So I did lift in high school. I had a brief lifting career there, and we really didn't have much of a program, but I did really enjoy powerlifting, and that was I actually didn't even play football my senior year, and did powerlifting instead. So I really devoted a lot of time to it, but it was only a couple years. So and then I did go to college, went to college for 4 years, came back home. And when I came back home, I think I was bored trying to figure out what I was going to do, and didn't have a lot going on at the time. And I came to the high school, and they had a program. And then I offered to kind of help out the head coach at the time, which was John Easterly, and he allowed me to help and be a part of things. And I think it just kind of, one thing led to another. I never thought I was going to coach powerlifting or anything like that. I think when I started, it was just kind of like, all right, I'll help, and we'll see how it goes. I never knew, what it would actually become as far as.
And then you'd be the head coach several years later.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't know if that was going to happen, but I also didn't know, I didn't really know what coaching really was. Like, I didn't know, I just thought it was helping people, lift and stuff, but not, yeah.
Yeah, so I know you went to college.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get a degree in or study there?
So I got a bachelor's of science degree in animal science. I had a dairy emphasis because I thought I was going to be a dairy farmer for a while. But then last couple of years at college, when I knew I wasn't going to take over a farm, I focused more on nutrition and things like that. And so some of that stuff, as far as macronutrients and that stuff, kind of goes hand in hand. Animals and people, when it comes right down to it, aren't a whole lot different. You gotta build everything up somehow. So.
Right. Right. So back to powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
What does your role as a powerlifting coach look like? Kind of a day in the life, or something like that. And then does your role vary depending on the setting or who you're working with, like the level of athlete?
Yeah. So first part of that question, I guess, what is my day-to-day role? I guess, a lot of what I do as a coach is not really what we do in the weight room sometimes. It's a little bit of that. That's only a couple hours a day. It's usually being the head coach and being, we've done it for a while. I have a pretty good program. There's a lot of conversations with school, officials, grades. Today I was just talking to people about pictures, figuring out, and they're going to come take pictures of kids. Trying to set up and plan meets and competitions. Keeping track of rules. We're in an ever-changing time right now where things are changing so fast. Like, there's new things in powerlifting, or USA powerlifting, new categories. I haven't even dove into that a lot yet. So I think that's my primary day-to-day. When I get here, then it's really simple. Really being in the weight room and actually lifting and coaching kids is probably the easiest part. Mm-hmm. I think of everything that you do as a coach, yeah.
So then when you're working with new lifters that are just starting, maybe it's their first time in the weight room, mm-hmm. versus maybe someone like me who's been doing it for almost 10 years now.
Has it been 10 years?
Yeah, just about. So what's kind of the difference, like a different approach? What approach do you take?
Yeah, I guess, and that's a good question. What I've learned over the years is that lifters really need to be accountable for their own numbers, but that's not something that that's something that you teach. So when I got lifters just starting, you're obviously focusing on form and technique, and you're making sure that they're safe, and you're trying to make sure that you don't create any bad habits early on that you got to fix later. It's mainly trying to get them to start, thinking about what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish, maybe their goals. It's very psychological, I think, at that point. You're just trying to teach them that the sport isn't just about coming in here and moving weights around. There's a lot more to it than that. And then I think that changes a little bit when I think when they hit about sophomore age, most of them. Some a little sooner. You're a little quicker to pick up on your own numbers and know what you want to do and take accountability for it. But I think when they become sophomores, I stop telling them what to do or telling them things, and I start having them think for themselves. And I start asking more questions as a coach. Okay, how did that feel? What do you want to do next? Things like that, and have them make decisions.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, clearly I think you need to know how, by the time lifters graduate high school, my goal for them is not always, to be world champions, national champions. It's great when it happens.
Sure.
But a lot of it is making sure that when they graduate, they got out of this what they want. And that's different for every single one of them. Some getting to state is enough. Some of them, it doesn't even matter medals or how they do, it's about how they feel. Self-confidence, things like that. I think the only way you can get that is if you are in charge of what you're doing as a lifter. If I would be enabling lifters all the way through high school, which early on in my coach, as a coach, I did that. I thought I should do it all for them, and then what you found out is that you weren't doing them any good, really.
Right. So what kind of keeps you coming back to coaching? Knowing that you do this on a voluntary basis.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back?
I guess it's a lot of things. Mainly when you see a lifter have a lot of success, or you see how that changes them, over time. Right now, I'm kind of to the point where when I see a lifter come in as like an 8th grader or something like that, or younger, and I can see a lot of potential in them, I'm excited to see what they can do. So when you kind of make a commitment to a 6th, 7th grader, we do start them in here a little younger than some. You started pretty young, worked out. But when you start that young, when I start working with them that young, I think our sport is kind of unique in the fact that, I have kids that lift all year long, and so you kind of develop a pretty good relationship, and then you don't really want to cut out on them halfway through. I don't know when I'm going to stop coaching, because the idea of kind of cutting out on a lifter when they're halfway through their high school career is kind of...
Yeah, you'll never be able to stop.
Right.
Because you'll have new ones coming in, and then...
I don't know what'll happen with that, but I think there'll come a time where I probably just am going to say, okay, this year is going to be the one, and I tell everybody, I don't know.
Prepare.
It's
Find
hard.
someone to take your place.
I think that's probably the best thing that could happen, is somebody kind of just come in and start doing it, and then you slowly kind of relinquish control, and the lifters start respecting them more, but I don't know. I
guess that's kind of what happened with you.
With John.
When you started, yeah.
Mm-hmm. John's kids kind of, grew up and were in it. I have both my children are in Powerlift 1. Brooklyn's a freshman, and then Sawyer's next year if he wants to. So that's probably going to help drive me for the next so many years. But I also am worried about being a parent and a coach. I haven't had to do that much. We'll see how that goes.
All right, so what are kind of your favorite or least favorite parts of being a coach or your involvement in coaching?
There's only a couple least favorite parts. I'll start with that first.
Get that out of the way.
Yeah, get that out of the way, because most of it's good, otherwise I probably wouldn't do it. But the least favorite parts are dealing with some of the political things with powerlifting. So
I feel like that might apply to just about anything.
I think so, probably. Yeah, and it's mainly, school systems. What I've learned over the years is that school systems are political, and navigating ours, but also navigating some other ones, and having to kind of work through the conflicts there, because it doesn't have anything to do with lifting weights and coaching kids. That's probably why I don't like it. Right. And then some of the other things is when I do have to deal with disciplinary things, or I do have to take a kid out of a competition because of grades or things like that, but I also try to do everything I can to help them through certain things, if they want it. Sometimes it is disappointing when they don't want it bad enough.
I can definitely understand that.
Yeah, and so that can be kind of disappointing. And as many kids I have coached, there has been those that I thought were going to do well and didn't, and some of it is not because they were a bad lifter or a bad kid or anything. It's because some of those other things kind of got in the way, and that
Interests elsewhere.
sometimes it's family dynamic that takes them out of it, and that's disappointing. That's not fun to deal with because it makes you kind of frustrated, and you almost kind of get let down and disappointed in people from time to time, and that's kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's the bad stuff.
Set stuff out of the way.
That's the bad stuff.
Favorite things.
That's right. Good things. All right. Let's see. Where do we start? Seeing a kid get a PR for the first time is pretty awesome. Their face when they do something really good is probably one of the most rewarding things. I think being a coach, I think if you probably enjoy the success of the lifter more than you do the fact that you're coaching. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to help them through that, and then it's all of the memories and all of the things that you make, and all the goofy stories. From when we go to powerlifting meets and we do things. When I talk to lifters that I haven't seen in 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, they never come and talk to me about the first place that they won at Nisita back in 2010. You know what I mean? They talk about, somebody throwing up all over the floor at a meet one time. And then asking to continue lifting. Anyway, but and then there's multiple other stories. And that's what we talk about, and that's the good stuff. The traveling and seeing places is a blast. I've been able to go to some pretty cool places, and I've been kind of blessed in a way and afforded that opportunity. So all the relationships that I've formed over the years of powerlifting, I have a lot of parents that I'll still talk to and their kids haven't been in powerlifting, or they still help, and we've actually become more of a family, a pretty tight-knit community here, and that's pretty cool. Let's see, health. My overall health I think is better because I've kept coaching and kept coming in here.
Right.
It kind of forces me to be a good role model.
Yeah. So speaking of that, obviously I know that you lift and you sometimes compete.
Sometimes.
When do you work in your workouts, since you're spending almost 2 hours coaching so many kids?
That's varied over the years. I used to come in really early in the morning and do it all on my own time. But with family and kids over the years and job, that wasn't always the easiest. So I think most of the time right now I try to lift right with them and kind of incorporate my stuff in theirs. I try to write out workouts and I try to write things, it's something that I've done recently probably. Some of it, because I don't do as much of the squatting, and some of those other things anymore like I used to. But so I'll try to mix in with them, and I kind of get it in there. And during the winter months, during the peak time of our, competition, I probably don't lift as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
I know I don't, but I get it in the summer. I try to make up for it in the summer.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with the students on the platform, or any words of advice you'd like to give someone who is looking to become a coach in general?
My advice to any of the kids on the platform would be that kind of going all the way back to, I think, in the beginning of the conversation, take accountability for your numbers, and don't be afraid to look up your own information and challenge things a little bit more. I mean, challenge ideas. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you spend, you should be spending most of the time thinking about your numbers and what you want to do at all the hours of the day other than when you're in the weight room. You know what I mean? That should be on your mind. You should kind of have a plan before you get there. Like with working with you, of course, we plan out things days in advance, weeks in advance sometimes. Make sure that you have a plan. I think a lot of people come into the weight room without a plan, and they probably waste the first half of practice or their time, because time is valuable. You waste it figuring out just what you're going to do, and then it's like you kind of get going, and then either time's up. Yeah. So I guess that would be.
Yeah, I think that could apply to any sport too, for practices, to just be prepared, know what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of people do spend a lot of time lifting on their own, right. And when you come into a team setting, it's a little bit easier because you kind of lean on a teammate, you kind of can pick up where they're at, or you kind of already know what's going on. Doing it on your own can be more difficult, or even if you're working one-on-one with somebody. So yeah, good plan, be prepared.
For sure. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate you sharing with us for the platform.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna do a fun little competition. So keep in mind, I even let Brian choose what we were gonna do, but he didn't choose very wisely if he was looking to win. So what we have is we each have a weight on each bar close to our body weights, and we're gonna squat it as many times as we can.
Yeah. I don't know, this feels heavy already. I can't believe this is what I weigh.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah. And they all have to be deep enough.
Whew. You could at least look like you're trying hard.
They already look hard, Brian.
Huh?
I said they already look hard
This
for you.
one.
You're at 11.
That's it?
Yep. Gonna get to 20?
How many was that?
That was 18. This is 19. Unless I
think that's good. You win.
because it's hard, or because I'm just out of breath.
Yeah. You're the one that says you don't like cardio.
I didn't make the contest. That was 40.
What was it?
Alright, so now he didn't think me beating him in squats was enough.
Oh.
So now we're gonna do bench your body weight as many reps as possible.
I'm gonna stand a little better chance here. A little bit. You don't think so?
No.
Oh, alright.
1, 2.
sounds like you're ready.
That's it. What'd you get?
I think I only got like 23.
I got 26! One final contest because Brian wanted to actually win something.
I might have a chance this time.
Possibly. I'm not very good at pull-ups. It's not my strong suit. So we're going to see who can do more pull-ups. Chin-ups. Whatever.
Chin-ups. You need a ladder?
Yeah.
All right. You got this. Oh, well, that's a lot. Oh, getting kind of low there.
You gotta get one more full one. There you go. By a hair.
By a hair.
This has been a presentation of the CV Academics Foundation, home of the AMP Honors Program.